everything moves faster than thought, where chaos screams from every corner, people breaking, hearts burning, minds drowning in noise, there exists a rare kind of soul, unmoved, unshaken, calm, even when the world collapses. What makes someone like that? Is it power? Is it detachment? Or is it something deeper, something ancient? Centuries ago, on the cracked marble of Rome, a man in a simple robe looked over his empire. His name was Marcus Aurelius, emperor of a world at war. Behind the gold and glory, he fought a quieter battle, the war within his own mind. He once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That one line became the heartbeat of Stoicism, a philosophy born not for classrooms, but for storms. It wasn't about being cold. It was about being clear, not emotionless, but free. Today we face our own empires, screens, opinions, fears, endless noise. But the battlefield is still the same. The mind. And if you listen closely, through the static of modern life, you can still hear their whisper. The Stoics, calling you to return, to calm, to strength, to silence. This is the way of the unshakable, the way of the Stoic. What follows isn't a story from the past. It's a mirror. Because the battle Marcus fought, you're fighting too. Every day you wake up and face a world that wants your reaction. Clever fighter. But what if you stopped reacting? What if, instead of breaking under the storm, you learned to stand still inside it? Let's begin. He woke before the sun. The air was heavy, silent, still. Outside his window, the city murmured like a restless sea. He stood there for a long time, watching it all. Cars flashing, people rushing, screens glowing. Chaos disguised as progress. He whispered to himself, "They're all running, but no one knows where." He had been like them once, chasing, reacting, drowning in the noise of other people's storms. Every message demanded his attention. Every opinion demanded his response. Until one night, it all broke. His body was still, but his mind was burning. That night, he remembered a quote he once read. "The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength." It was by Marcus Aurelius. The words felt like they came from somewhere ancient, beyond time, beyond the internet, beyond the need to be seen. He turned off his phone, sat on the floor, listened. For the first time in years, there was nothing but silence. At first, it scared him. The quiet was too loud. Thoughts screamed. Regrets echoed. The mind didn't like stillness. It fought back. It wanted distraction, validation, anything but reflection. He realized then, the chaos wasn't out there. It was inside. The Stoics called this the battle within. The invisible war between what you can control and what you cannot. The more he resisted what was beyond his control, the weaker he became. The more he accepted, the stronger he felt. He started small. When someone insulted him, he didn't fight back. When plans failed, he didn't panic. When things fell apart, he whispered, Amor fati. Love your fate. Not because it's perfect, but because it's yours. Days turned into weeks. Slowly, something changed. The world was still loud, still messy, still unfair, but he wasn't moved. He had built a space inside himself where no noise could reach. He noticed people around him growing anxious over the smallest things. A delayed message, a harsh word, a missed chance. He felt the pull to join them, to react, to defend. But he didn't. He smiled instead. Because he knew now, every reaction was a chain. Every moment of anger was a surrender of peace. He thought of Marcus again, the emperor who wrote in the middle of war, surrounded by betrayal and loss, yet calm. He realized, maybe power isn't about conquering nations. Maybe it's about conquering yourself. Each morning, he reminded himself, I cannot control the world, but I can control my mind. And with that one thought, he began to change. He saw how chaos fed on reaction. It needed your fear to survive. When you stayed still, it lost power. When you didn't fight it, it faded. He laughed quietly. The world hadn't changed, but he had. He became someone rare. The kind of person storms cannot break. Not because he was special, but because he had learned the secret. Peace is not found by escaping chaos. It's found by standing within it, untouched. If you're listening to this now, maybe you felt it too. The noise, the pressure, the exhaustion of trying to keep up with everything. You've tried to be strong, to control, to fix. But strength doesn't mean force. Strength means stillness. The unshakable man isn't the one who wins every battle. He's the one who doesn't need to fight them. He sat by his window again. The sun had risen. The world moved as it always did, fast, loud, endless. But inside, there was only peace. He smiled once more. The same words echoed quietly in his mind. Be like the rock that the waves keep crashing against. It stands firm, and the raging sea falls still around it. That's when he finally understood. The world will never stop being chaotic. But you can stop being moved by it. He walked through the city streets, but he was not of them. Faces blurred past, phones in hand, voices sharp and urgent. He could feel the tension. Every step a collision of expectation and distraction. People moved like marionettes, pulled by impulses they didn't understand. And for a moment, he almost envied them, the simplicity of surrender. But surrender was weakness. He remembered the night he had chosen differently. The night he decided he would no longer be tossed by every storm. The night he embraced the Stoic principle that would guide him forward. Control what you can, accept what you cannot. It wasn't easy. Life tested him relentlessly. A colleague's betrayal cut deep, sharper than he expected. Old friends questioned his choices. Opportunities slipped away. Each moment threatened to unravel the calm he had built. He recalled Epictetus' words. "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Reaction was the trap. Emotion was the chain. The world wanted him reactive, angry, scared, defensive. But he had learned to pause, a breath, a thought, then a choice. When anger came, he did not lash out. He watched it, felt it, let it pass. He realized anger is a visitor, fleeting, loud, demanding attention. But it leaves when you do not feed it. When fear tried to take hold, he remembered Marcus' wisdom. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. He began to see life differently. Failure was not a catastrophe. It was information. Pain was not a punishment. It was a lesson. Loss was not the end. It was an invitation to grow. The mind that had once been his enemy was now his teacher. In the quiet, he found clarity. In solitude, he found strength. He discovered the paradox of power. The more he let go, the more he gained. The less he fought the world, the more he shaped his own. Each moment of calm was a victory no one else could see. Yet it transformed everything he touched. He practiced daily meditation of the mind, not just the body. Reflection on choices, not events. Journaling thoughts. Dissecting reactions. Understanding shadows he once denied. He learned the difference between what demands attention and what deserves it. Slowly, the chaos outside became noise, and the chaos inside became a tool. One evening, he walked along a river, watching the water move relentlessly yet without haste. He understood now. The river does not resist obstacles. It flows around them. Yet it carves valleys over time. He smiled quietly. The Stoics had been right all along. Strength is not the absence of difficulty. It is the mastery of response. He thought of the modern world. The ceaseless news, the endless notifications, the invisible pressure of social validation. He realized that most people mistake motion for progress. They fight storms they cannot control, They feed the chaos, and they wonder why they are exhausted. But he had discovered the secret. The unshakable mind does not fight everything. It chooses its battles, guards its peace, and remains firm when all else wavers. This is the discipline that separates the reactive from the resilient. He whispered to himself, almost as a promise, I will not be moved by what I cannot change. I will not be shaken by what is not mine to control. I will remain still, and from stillness, I will act with clarity. And in that stillness, he found freedom. He woke one morning to a storm raging outside, the kind that rattles windows and shakes rooftops. But he noticed something different. He didn't feel the storm. The rain pounded, the wind screamed, yet inside he was still. The chaos was out there, his calm was in here. He had learned the lesson the Stoics had whispered across centuries. The world will always be unpredictable. What matters is how you stand within it. At work, tensions rose. Colleagues argued, deadlines loomed, and mistakes were blamed. He could have reacted, yelled, or defended himself. He could have drowned in anxiety, just like before. But he paused, he breathed. He observed the situation as an outsider might observe a play. Not detached from life, but fully aware of his own mind. He asked himself, can I control this? No. Then it is not my concern. And in that moment, he felt power he had never known. In relationships, it was no different. He had loved, lost, and been betrayed. Emotions once ruled him. He had reacted in anger, in fear, in desperation. But now, he applied the Stoic lens. Every encounter is a lesson, every disappointment a mirror. He listened more than he spoke. He observed more than he judged. And slowly, the people around him began to notice the change. Not in his words, but in his presence. There was an unshakable gravity, a calm authority that drew others without force. He thought of Epictetus. Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them. How often had he suffered? Not because of what happened, but because of how he interpreted it. Now, he interpreted with discipline. He chose perspective, not reaction. He chose reason, not impulse. Every moment became a test, and every moment of stillness strengthened him. He faced setbacks, of course. Projects failed. People disappointed him. Opportunities vanished. But the difference now was profound. He did not chase what was lost. He did not lament what could not be changed. Instead, he asked, what can I learn? How can I act wisely? His mind became a shield, his awareness a sword. Even in the quiet of his apartment, he practiced this discipline. Each morning, he would sit, eyes closed, tracing the rhythm of his breath. Thoughts came. Doubts, fears, regrets. And he welcomed them, acknowledged them, then let them pass. Fighter. Every thought released was a brick removed from the weight of the world pressing on him. By evening, he walked through the streets again. People rushed, cars honked, sirens blared, and still he moved like the eye of a hurricane, untouched, observing, steady. He understood now that the unshakable mind is not born, it is forged in practice, in reflection, in repeated choice. He remembered Marcus Aurelius' words. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Every challenge, every betrayal, every storm outside became the path to mastery. The chaos had not changed, but he had. And as night fell, he realized that this mastery was not for him alone. Every act of calm, every moment of clarity radiated outward. The world did not change, but he changed the way he existed within it. He whispered into the night, "I am unshakable, not because the world obeys me, but because I obey my own mind." He sat alone in the dim light of his room. The city's chaos reduced to a distant murmur. For years, he had been reactive, tossed by every insult, every disappointment, every small misfortune. But now, after months of practice, reflection, and deliberate stillness, he understood something profound. The ultimate mastery of life is not in controlling the world, but in mastering the self. He thought of Marcus Aurelius again, and the simplicity of his wisdom. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one, not just in thought, but in action. Not just in theory, but in practice. The world offered temptations, anger, fear, comparison, craving. Each was a test, and each, if met with calm, became a teacher. He recalled a heated argument from weeks ago. Normally, it would have left him restless, sleepless, haunted by words spoken and unspoken. But this time, he had paused. He had listened, observed, and understood that the conflict existed largely in perception, not in reality. He had responded with measured words, then stepped away, untouched. The relief was immediate, the clarity undeniable. Strength, he realized, is not loud. It is quiet, patient, invisible. In the solitude of the night, he practiced the Stoic exercises that had changed him. He wrote down every fear, every worry, every perceived injustice, then asked himself, "Can I change this?" If yes, act. If no, release. He imagined the worst case scenario for every challenge, not to dwell in despair, but to prepare the mind for any outcome. He reflected daily on gratitude, not for what he had, but for the very capacity to endure, to observe, and to grow. With each practice, he felt a transformation. Life's storms became opportunities. Pain became insight. Disappointment became instruction. The unshakable mind does not flee adversity. It uses it. It turns obstacles into lessons, loss into clarity, chaos into a mirror of the self. Even relationships changed. People sensed the difference. He no longer clung, begged, or sought approval. He interacted from a place of calm authority, empathy, and understanding. Conflict lost its sting, manipulation lost its power, and the trivial dramas that once drained him became almost invisible. Walking through the city now, he observed the world with compassion, not fear. The same chaos surrounded him. Deadlines, noise, anger, injustice. Yet he moved like a still point in a spinning storm. Each step, each breath, each pause was a declaration. I am not moved by what I cannot control. I am the master of my own mind. He reflected on the timeless wisdom of the Stoics. Life is fleeting. External events are unpredictable. Suffering is inevitable. But peace is possible. Strength is possible. Freedom is possible. All it takes is discipline, awareness, and the courage to remain still when the world demands you move. As night deepened, he whispered quietly to himself, a vow and a truth. I will face life unshaken. I will act with clarity. I will live with intention. I will be calm, no matter the storm. And in that calm, he finally understood. The unshakable life is not built by escaping chaos, but by standing firm within it. Serene, vigilant, unstoppable.